Hello, followers of Christ. It is the new year. I hope that you all was able to bring in the new year with blessings and joy and happiness and peace. If you happen to endure some sadness, it's okay. God is with you and He's going to see you through it. Just pray and have faith. This year, I want to do things a little different. I Y'all know I've been reading the book of Proverbs. I'm still reading it. I'm a slow reader. Don't judge me. I've been reading the book of Proverbs. And so I'm not going to read the chapters to you guys because I want you to really read the Bible for yourself. But I want to start having conversations with you all about how certain scriptures and chapters reach out to me to kind of give you an idea of what I mean when I say when you read the Bible for yourself. Because if I read the chapters and I get one thing and then you read it and then you see something totally different, you'll kind of get an understanding of what I mean. And so I have been reading Proverbs. I want to share what stood out to me whenever I was reading chapters 4 through 7. So, like I said, I've read over the chapters. Usually, what I do is I read the chapters, and then if there's a verse or something, or a word, or situation in the chapter that stands out to me, I journal it. I write it down, and I pray on it, and I meditate on it. And one of the things that stood out to me during chapters 4 and 7 was the word discipline. And so it kept being used, but it was being used in different ways. So I'm going to read you guys what I wrote and then kind of talk about it a little bit. So I wrote down, how do you respond when you hear the word discipline? Today, discipline is used to provoke punishment or encourage a steady practice. But in Proverbs, it uses the term as a means of instruction. That one word had so many meanings and so many abilities. How do you know which one is being activated? So, what I was asking at that time was, so you have the word discipline being used, and the way that Solomon was using it, he was using it in the form of instruction. Follow my instruction. But they kept saying the word discipline. Follow my instruction. And so I was like, okay, I can understand that, because when you're practicing, when you're doing something and you're trying to make it a habit, you have to discipline yourself. You have to, in order for it to become a habit, meaning you have to put yourself in a position to make time and effort to repeat it, to exercise it, to for it to come to be. And so, but then you have discipline when they talk about, when you discipline your children. If you don't discipline, the Bible says, spare the rod, spoil the child. So in today's society, even at schools, they say discipline, discipline. It is a form of, when a child does something wrong, then you discipline them, meaning punish them, right? Or redirect them in a way that will prevent them from doing it again. And then you have the steady practice of discipline. So that's like when you trying to do a workout regimen, or when you listen to athletes, pro athletes, when they talk about, how did you become so successful? First thing they say is a lot of hard work and discipline, meaning they had to put themselves in a position to where, when they had the choice to do something else, they allowed their discipline to kick in to do what they were supposed to do, or what they assigned themselves to do, so they wouldn't stray away from the progress that they have made. If they decided to go off sugars, they had to make a strong effort. They had to do a strong will in order to not give in to that temptation to eat sugars. If they had a workout regimen where they work out at the same time every day, then if somebody else came up or if something came up on their schedule, they'd be like, oh no, I can't do it during that time because they had it already allotted for their workout schedule. So how do you know when to activate what type of discipline? Because even when you're doing a workout regimen, if at one point your discipline is making the choice to decide between to do one thing or another, and you choose the thing that you're disciplining towards. Another form could be that you, because you did stray from your schedule, now you got to work out double. You disciplining yourself by punishing yourself. And then with the same scenario of working out, you choose to, provide yourself, if you're doing strength training, then you discipline yourself to make sure you know the proper techniques to lift and, how to gradually add weight so that you're not hurting yourself. So in the same sense of where it's a form of punishment, it's also a form of benefit and also a form of protection. And that's what I mean when I talk about reading the Bible for yourself. Because for me, in knowing what discipline is from reading Proverbs and how we use discipline, it brings about that question. When do I know what form of discipline to activate in my faith? When I'm practicing my faith, do I discipline myself in the way I respond? Do I discipline myself in the way I approach it? Do I discipline myself in the way that I receive it or ask for it, right? So I know for a lot of us, it is not easy to discipline yourself because you're not accustomed to it. I'm one of them. And I know that it's not easy to punish yourself because nobody likes pain. Nobody likes to put themselves through pain. So you don't want to inflict pain on yourself. This piece of hair is getting on my nerve. And so, but if it's a necessary form of punishment in order to prevent you from straying, would you still punish yourself? Would you still discipline yourself when you stray from God? That is one of the things that I'm just, I've been praying on it. And God hadn't shown me the full outcome of it, but He has started. By me seeking Him throughout the day, I'm looking for the answer, right? So throughout the days, I do look for opportunities for it to show up, or if it does show up, I'm more aware of what my day-to-day look out, because I want that to be revealed to me. And so one of the things is like, for example, whenever the holidays, I read this on New Year's Day, like the day of, not during, on January 1, New Year's Day. And I began to look for discipline. Or do I practice disciplining myself in certain things? And I noticed that there are certain things that I use discipline for in all three areas. So, when I get up in the morning, it's important for me to make sure I take all my medications in order to stay healthy. So I have a morning routine. And if I get off my morning routine, I try to go back and either I correct myself and take the medications later, or if I miss them for the whole day, my body responds to that. I start feeling sick, or I start feeling weak, I'm tired or fatigue, I start having symptoms that lets me know that because you didn't take your medicine, hence how you feeling, a form of punishment. And then there's also where it's like, okay, so I have the routine and then I have the effects from when I don't. So then there's the discipline of me making sure I follow my routine. So in other words, when I get up in the morning, I go in, I start my coffee, or I start my coffee because I mix my coffee in with my protein shake, and that's what I use to take my medicine. Because sometimes I don't feel like eating, but I have to have substance on my stomach to take it. If I go in there and at one point I would go in there and one of my kids would be using a coffee maker. And I'd be like, okay. And they, kids, they set it and forget it. They come back probably 20, 30 minutes later. And that's throwing me off my routine. So what I did, I got a second coffee maker so that I don't have to fight for the coffee maker in the morning. If they have theirs, they make theirs. I can still make mine. So that is a form of practicing to make sure I'm practicing taking my medicine. I'm not letting anything intervene with me staying on top of me taking my medicine. So let's talk about applying that to our faith. Faith is believing without seeing. So when you wake up in the morning, how do you apply your faith using discipline? You wake up in the morning and you immediately know that you are blessed that day because God allowed you to see another day. So you thank him. Your first thing to do is to acknowledge him when you wake up, give him thanks for allowing you to be, asking him to be with you throughout the day, pray for others if you forgot to pray for them the night before, and kind of get yourself in a routine of having a conversation with God when you first wake up. Well, then throughout the day, as you go through your day, you're practicing faith by trusting that everything that he said was going to happen that day or anything that you had lined up is going to happen without flaw. Or at least happen according to God's plan. You're operating in his plan. So you're constantly seeking him out. That's a form of discipline. You practice seeking God throughout your day to make sure that you are operating through him and not just out here doing things just because those are things you want to do. That you want to make sure that what you're doing is lining up with God's word. So you get up, or just speaking on me, I get up, I make my medicine or take my medicine, start my day. Once I leave my home, I'm operating on faith. Because from the time I get out of my driveway, I can't predict what it's going to look like, what the roads are going to be, how my day's going to be, the people that I encounter that day. I have no idea what that's going to look like. So I'm operating faith by seeking God on that journey. Lord, give me safe journey to work, safe journey dropping my child off, protect her while she's at school. When I leave her at that school and I go, I am practicing believing that she's going to come home safe. I'm not leaving it up to the school to keep her safe. I'm leaving it up to God to keep her safe. And so that's a form of me practicing and disciplining my faith. When I get to work and I run into a problem, I'm trusting that God's going to give me the solutions to resolve whatever issues I run into at work. If I don't run into any issues at work and I just have a normal work day, that's even better because God's blessed me with a peaceful day. So believing that he's with me, believing that he is with me throughout my day is, without me being able to actually see how the day is going to unfold, is a great way for me to practice my faith on a daily basis. Now, when it comes to trials and tribulations, for example, a trial or tribulation for me right now, a trial would be something you're going through that there's moving parts to it. Like, it's not like a one thing that you have to do to fix it. It's literally several different things. Tribulation is more like a situation that you're in and you're trying to work through it. So the situation with my car, that's the tribulation that I'm going through. I still don't have it fixed. I still don't have all the funds that I need to get it fixed, but I'm still practicing faith that God is going to show me a way of if he wants me to fix the car or get a new car. But one thing that he has shown me because of the faith that I have, that It's the goal, ultimate reason for me having a car is to be able to complete tasks, have transportation, move around like I need to get to from point A to point B. Even though I don't have a car that is mine per se, God has already shown up by making sure that I am able to still get back and forth to work. I don't have to worry about trying to find rides. I don't have to worry about how I'm gonna get to and from or get groceries. He's already set things in place to make sure that I'm taken care of. So the purchasing of a car or the purchasing or the repairing of my car is not so much a need. The need is transportation. God has already provided that need for me. The car having a car for me, this is for me, my situation. Having a car will now falls into the category of a desire. So that means I have to have faith that God is going to answer my desire if it's in his plan for me to have a car or to repair my car. So I have to seek in order for me to know that, faith without work is dead. So you have to do the action. You have to set yourself up. In order for me to have faith that God is going to protect my daughter at school, I have to take her to school. In order for me to have faith that God is going to be with me at work to deal with crisis, I have to show up for work. So I'm acting by showing up and doing the things and putting things in place for God to allow the faith to work. So the same thing with the desires, I have to put myself in a position to where God can make the decision, or he may have already made the decision, and now I have to wait. I have to wait and see what his response is. It's kind of like when you put in an application for a job, you put the application in and then you have to wait till they call you. Now, the application, if you've never been in the management position, once we get applications, we don't look at every application as soon as it comes in. Usually we allow a few to trickle in so we can compare. And so they've received the application, but they have not looked at the application. So you're waiting on the manager to review your request to work for them. And then if you are a candidate, they have to make that choice if you're the best candidate for that position. And then they reach out to you to say, hey, I want to know more about you. Come in and let's interview. During that time, most of us, when we put in, unless it's a dream job, or we're not really just, in desperate need, most of the time when we put an application in at one area, we also put it in at other areas. Your top 3, your top 5 choices. So you submitted applications elsewhere. And in all those areas, you're still waiting to hear from all those different locations where you've put in the application. Now, you've gotten the interview. Just because you've gotten an interview doesn't mean you have the job. You still have to show them a side of you that will make you the prime candidate for their job. So I've activated my faith. I've showed God what I'm needing. So now God, he knows my request. Now it's how much do I want? How much faith do I want to put? The Bible says faith the size of mustard seed get you any and everything. So, but the action, having the faith still require you to do the action. You can have little faith, but your actions may require more work than you anticipated in order for God to bless you with what you're requesting him for. And the reason why I say that, and this is just me, the reason why I say that is because in order for me to get this car, I know I need a financial revenue stream from somewhere else, because my current job with the current salary that I have is not enough to cover what I need to get the vehicle, right? So that means one of two things. Either God is going to change the hearts of my supervisors, increase my pay. Money's going to come from a revenue stream that I have no way of knowing. Like so far, that's what he's been doing. He's been sending me, I've been getting money, checks from places or things that I had no idea was coming. I had mentioned to you before about how I had the overpayment come from one company just about a couple of weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, we discovered that my husband had got a check from a settlement that he didn't even know he was part of. His class action, one of those class action things. And then there was an overpayment on one of our bills, medical bills, so we got a check from that. So far, the actions have been based on things that I've done in the past coming back to me, right? The revenue streams are coming back. He's pulling in revenue from an outside source. So does that mean I sit down on my laurels and I don't do anything? It's like, oh, okay, so he's just going to keep providing me checks. No, I still have to keep making my faith work. So by being in, because again, I'm still trying to decide if it's a new car or repair. So I still reach out to the repair shops and get an estimate, see if there's a change in the price, or if there's anything, if there's another mechanic out there that I haven't talked to that can do it for what I currently have on hand. And then there's also looking at vehicles that I can afford or finance, so on and so forth. So I'm still doing work, but I'm not. You don't want to be too careful and move too fast. You can do the work, but don't go into anything or commit to anything until God has given you confirmation that he wants you to commit to that. So me talking to a mechanic, I'm not going to tell them I'm going to send them my car, because God hadn't told me that I need my, even though the deal may sound great, but if God has not given me the sound spirit to say, send them your car to be repaired, that's me going beyond the action. Now, I can send it and have faith that God's going to find a way for me to pay for it and get it done. But that's not what I'm seeking from God. I'm not seeking just to get my car fixed. I'm seeking the question of, do I get the car fixed or buy a new car? That's the response that I'm looking for. So if I was just wanting to get my car fixed and I was relying on God that my car was going to be fixed, then I would operate my faith according to that. I will look at it like, okay, they say that it costs this much, they say it costs this much, and then I will have faith and start doing action and put the car in the shop, believing and trusting that God's going to provide the money for me to get the car out the shop, or it's not going to cost as much. There's going to be a miracle, a blessing, grace, or mercy to allow me to have that car repaired. But that's not what I'm seeking. I'm seeking to follow his plan. Do you want me to get it fixed, or do you want me to get a new car? And when the time comes, when it's perfect, when everything aligns the way God wanted to align, I will be able to know that, and then I will be in a position to where a month down the road, 6 months down the road, 5 months, a year, 2 years, I'm not in the same position. A car is a material thing, so it's going to break down eventually. It's going to need repairs. So will new cars. There are recalls. My daughter's car has been recalled so many times. She has so many recalls that her car stayed in the shop more than my used car had. So I'm not saying that the car will never break down because God fixed it or God allowed you the means to fix it. I'm saying that it won't be it going into the shop every other week for the same reasons. So that's what this chapter 4-7 is teaching me, that, he's reminding me to use my practices of faith. Stay on top of that and keep doing that in this tribulation that I'm going through, so I don't stray away and do something outside of my discipline and cause me to be outside of his plan, or cause me more heartache and pain and frustration in the near future. I really hope this bless you guys. Go read the chapters, and that way you can kind of have an understanding of what I mean. But you may get something totally different from those chapters. If you do, please feel free to share and comment. I'm looking forward to continuing, like I said, reading Proverbs. I don't know why, it just gets me all excited. Me and my husband had a 2-hour conversation about one verse in the Proverbs that I read previous. So just read, have faith, continue to build your faith, continue to exercise your faith, and then see, once God blesses you, that's the ultimate goal. Once you receive your blessing, God will allow you to be able to use that as a testimony or as a way to help share that opportunity with others that are following him or people who are seeking to know what type of God he is. So keep doing what you're doing, keep having faith, keep being strong, and watch how God work in 2026.